welcome to the Connecting Point. I am Dr. Marcy, your facilitator for this discussion today. This is the place where creators connect to inspire, share their ideas and stories to transform the world through raw and unedited talk. Now, today, audience, I am elated. I am for two reasons, because of the topic that will be discussed today, but mostly because I am here with my beloved Uncle Mike. Yes, this is my Uncle Mike, Michael Thurmond, and that's what I know him as. Uncle Mike, I have to tell the connecting point. Thus the name of this platform. Well, that's the connecting point, y'all. This is my uncle. What more do you need?
my baby doing Dr.
Oh, this is my uncle, y'all. Hey, well, it is what it is, okay? But anyway, Uncle Mike, I always let the guests tell a little bit about where they grew up and who they are. I could tell because your resume is vast. But the most important part of the resume is he's my uncle. Now that's right.
It. That's it. And this is my niece, and I'm so proud of you and proud of the kids. And y'all have done you've done an amazing job as a parent and an educator. And James and Rosa done right by you. And we just love you and support you and encourage you, because you've been anointed and you have a ministry and you share in that ministry. And I'm just happy to be with my niece. This is so cool.
Yes, virtual. We're virtually meeting today. Yes. And you know, it's so funny because I said this is my uncle, but really, you know, people don't know that side of you that I know. The funny side, they might know it. You know, my uncle is a little humorous, y'all. He is.
It runs in the family. It's
yes,
just because you know, all of us kind of grew up together, the nieces and the uncles, and you know how our family was. And on Sunday afternoon, and we all together. So you my niece, then you like my baby sister too, all at the same time.
Yeah, so that gives you a little insight, audience. And since you already know where I'm from Athens, Georgia, put two and two together. Where are you from, Uncle Mike?
Most specifically, Sandy Creek, right? We're from
Sandy Creek.
Sandy Creek, grew up out in the country. My father, your granddad, Sidney Thurmond, on this side of the family, and Vanilla Thurmond. We were farmers, grew up in the country, understanding what it means to work hard and scratch a living out the dirt. That's who I am. I'm a sharecropper son. That's who I am.
Yes, he's a sharecropper son. And you know what? It was so funny just here recently. I was talking to Jamari Mahogany. Those are my children, y'all know already. And I said, you know what? I got a good balance, because I remember looking out of the living room window at a hog being slaughtered. You know, I actually saw it when they were making sausage and getting ready to. I saw my grandmother go out to the smokehouse. Do y'all know what a smokehouse is? Listen, and in the smoke.
Better know what a smokehouse is. This is Black History Month.
Yes, a smokehouse is where. Let me give you a picture of it. It looks like my best recollection of it was this wooden building, very small building, and it is where cured ham was hanging from the ceiling. Cured ham. You know, we like to eat country ham, and it was actually hanging up and salted in the smokehouse.
Come on.
So I remember going out there with my grandmother. I remember her when she was cooking breakfast, she would go get the eggs, not from the store. She actually went and got the eggs. from the animal that makes eggs. Y'all, what animal is that? Because I know I have kids on here watching too sometimes. What animal makes eggs? That's what she went to get the eggs. And I remember my children said, "Oh man, yeah, you really are country, mama."
And then you know what? You do remember that because you were there. You know, it's interesting. You baby though, but you know, that's still within your recollection.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes, but I was just saying that to my own children last week.
Really?
Yeah, that I have a true balance. And you know, I am so thankful for that. I was able to get some of the old and mix with some of the new, which is also a discussion that I had with my students this past week. And I told them, I said, you know what, I've been doing some research. And they say that your generation is getting dumber. Now, their first response was, what? I said, no, not literally. I said, but they're saying because of social media and all this other stuff that you all are not using your thinker as much. And I said, let me explain a little bit. I said, my generation, which might be the 40s and 50s, because I'm now 51. Okay.
What?
Yes, I am.
Hey, my baby needs 51.
Yes, I am 51. Yeah, I am. I just had a birthday a couple weeks ago.
And you always gonna be like 12 or 13 to me. So this right. You don't get to grow up with your uncle.
Yes, and I'm okay with that. I am. But I told the children, I said, do you realize we didn't have the internet? And they said, oh, you couldn't do TikTok? I said, no, I couldn't do TikTok. I took a typewriting class in high school because we had typewriters. I said, but by the time I got to college, we had the internet was taking root and going and starting to, be infiltrated in our studies. So I got a chance to get a little both. Whereas my parents, they still, you got to kind of edge them on with technology. So they got none of it. However, because I had the balance, I was able to think through processes. And I said, I told the children, my job is to help you think more. And I said, so if you're technology savvy, but you don't have this old part, you're still lacking something. So we got to get you balanced so that you know how to find your way if you don't have Google Maps. So those are the type of things that I want children to gain more of now. And I know that history helps play a big part of that. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And it's through the history that you learn not to make the mistakes of the past, but also to use that learning to improve and perfect the future. And the history is not just history. It's really about what is happening today. Those lessons that you learned out there in Sandy Creek, believe it or not, you are replicating those lessons with your children, with Jamara and Mahogany, but also with your students. Because there's ethics in things that you learn. It's not so much about, like you said, the fact that you knew that eggs came from somewhere. That's science.
Yes, it is. Right?
That's a science lesson. And it's not just, oh, I need some scrambled eggs. So that's why history is so important. That's why Black history is important, because we need to know from whence we've come.
Yes. Yes.
And it's good that you talk about your grandparents and my parents. And one of the things I encourage young people to do, now that you have a cell phone, an iPhone, record, sit down, talk with your grandparents, great-grandparents, and interview them the way you are interviewing me, so that you will create and perfect a record, something you can keep with you forever.
Absolutely. And I now that you mentioned that, I have I had a great grandmother who lived to be 110 on my mother's side. And I remember I still have the videos today. And something as simple as her telling me how she made macaroni and cheese. I have that on a video.
Do you really? That's wonderful.
I do. And something else she talked about several things she cooked. And so I still go back and look at that video sometimes. And I said, oh my goodness, the wealth of information that she had. And even in my kitchen with my daughter, and my daughter said, well, Mama, how are you making the biscuits? I said, I don't have a recipe. You just gonna have to watch me. Because I sat in kitchens. Mama Nilla,
yeah,
which is my uncle's mother, my grandmother. Mama Nilla, she didn't have recipes. I don't remember those. You just had to sit and watch. Now, I didn't always participate, but I was watching. And so that makes a big difference in us being able to move our young people to where they need to be, to feel confident enough and to feel like, yes, I have some greatness in me and I can think through things and create things. Because we're all creators somewhere, which goes to this next point I'm about to have. My uncle is a creator too, you know. You all know that I have a platform, the Connecting Point for Creators group on Facebook, and we're close to 400 people now, but everybody has an area that they create in. My uncle has created several books, this being one of them. I remember the first one was paperback, and it was black. I don't even have the first, I can't even find the first one anymore. I think I might have been 7 years old.
Yeah, how old were you? You were about 7 or 8 years old when I was working on that one. You were just first.
Yes, and so can you, matter of fact, I want you to tell the audience a little bit about this. My uncle, he's the CEO of Dekalb County. He's been an attorney. He's an author as well. And so I want you to talk about your journey. How did you know what you wanted to be in life? Because I think that kind of helps people as well, kind of understand the plight of life sometimes. It doesn't always start off easy, but something in you tells you what you need to be doing and what you desire to do. How did you know that you wanted to come from a historical point in writing books? Even what you do today has a lot to do with history.
Well, you know, this morning we were out distributing food. Once a month, we distribute 3,000 or 4,000 boxes of fresh fruits and vegetables and protein to families who need it. We worked with 6 churches this morning, and we were distributing the fruits, the vegetables, the eggs, and chicken, to be honest with you. But you know, your grandfather had a vegetable route.
Yeah.
And we would sell the fruits and vegetables we raised on the farm to people all around Athens. Mm-hmm. So Marcy, you can get this, and people, I just feel this presence of my dad, your dad is see it. When I'm out doing this on Saturday morning, it's what I was born, you know, it's what the first thing I remember, we on a route helping people. And especially now with inflation and the cost of food being so high. And so yesterday I was on WOK, and Derek Bowman said, Mike, how did you figure all this out to get the food from the farm? I said, Derek, I was raised in it. I'm just replicating what I've learned in the 21st century to help people who are being impacted by the pandemic and now by inflation. But that was a lesson when you were a little girl that I learned from your grandfather and my father. I just wanted to, just like you, and I see a lot of that spirit in you, to be honest with you, Marcy, and that's why I'm so proud of you, is to make a difference, just to help as many people as you can, and to improve life as much as you can, and to pass it on to future generations. That's the spirit you have. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know which side of the family, and it may just been straight from God. I don't know, but you know, that's who we are. Yeah. And parents raised us to care about other folk and help somebody if you can. And that's it. That's your mother, Rosa. You know, she's always out there trying to make a difference and believing that there is a higher calling, that there's a spiritual force. And if you embrace it, it'll allow you to do great things.
And, you know, and I imagine sometimes when I think about it, Dad see it. That's my granddaddy that Uncle Mike is talking about. He lived through the Depression. And so he had to know how to ration. He had to know how to budget, even before budgeting was a thing. He had children to take care of and also help others. So he had enough and he shared. And that's what my prayers all the time. Lord, give me overflow to take care of what I need to here and to also be able to share with others. And like you said, I think that came, yes, it came from God, but it had to be laid on our forefathers and whatnot to get it to us. And so if we can just continue that motion in the Black community, period, we would be better, you know, better people if we just continue to share what we know, even if it's knowledge. And that's what this creativity is all about. You're a creator because you're supposed to share whatever you're creating with the world to make it better. And so I want to talk about this book, Mike.
But let me say this before you go to the book. I want to say this about you. And when God gives you a gift, the gift of music, you have to share it. That's a blessing. And when you inspire and teach and train younger people to enhance their talents and abilities, it doesn't have to be food. It can just be a talent.
Right.
Which is what you're doing. And I'm thinking, you know, I talked to Dr. Mary Frances earlier a lot.
Yes, I love her.
Yeah, she loves you. And she has shared her talent and skills, and she see that's in you and all the thousands of students that she's mentored and educated all these years, and you are passing it on to the next generations. I just wanted to put it in context.
Yes, because, and that's important. I'm glad you pointed that out. You don't get anywhere by yourself. You have people that come in who are willing to share to get you to a better place. And in my mind, there are so many people. Yes, my family, they were the nucleus, but there were so many people, you know, in my journey as a teacher, and even realizing at some point I was more than a teacher. When God said, no, you're an integrationist. And I said, what is that? And I would never forget. I even had an administrator say to me once, stop trying to be Dr. Martin Luther King. And I said, what? I'm not trying. But I understand now what she was saying, because he was an integrationist, trying to connect things for people, trying to get them to understand things in ways that they could grasp it. And in essence, isn't that what Jesus did?
Yes.
You know, Jesus spoke in a way people could understand. And so we have to, when we're sharing knowledge or whatever it is, we have to do it in a way that everybody gets it, not just those up top, not just those at the bottom, not just those in the middle. Everybody should be able to grasp whatever you're presenting as a creator. Now, I'm going with this book. The reason I'm starting with, he's written others, but this one, A Story Untold. And this one is the first that, you know, it was a Black cover back then, paperback book. I might, like you said, I might be 7 or 8 years old when it came out, but I remember being so proud. You know, you go to school and children say, your uncle has a book. And I was even prouder when I went, I think, to middle school, and my grandfather was in the social studies book. Because he was in the social studies book that I had to study, talking about the Great Depression. And I
didn't know you used that book. That's amazing.
Yes, we actually used, I had to study from the book my grandfather was in. So you can imagine how I felt, you know, as a child. And I tell my students all the time, you know, I knew who I was before I left home. I just interviewed a high school teacher who's having some of the same issues I am having. We're looking at students and seeing that they don't know a whole lot about their history. And I said, you know, I can't totally say it's the school system because I knew who I was before I left the house. My parents told me, my aunts and uncles like you all, my grandparents told me, I knew who I was. I was affirmed before I left the house. And that made a great impact on where I was to go. And then after going through high school and then getting to college, I went to an HBCU, which they added more to what I had learned growing up. And so when I left Morris Brown College, you could not tell me in any shape, form, or fashion that I was not great. And so I want children all over to know you're great. And then the only way to know that is know that history of who you come from. And so, you know, I want to open this, I saw something in this book. I'm just going to read it because I thought it was very important. Matter of fact, it confirmed something that I told my students a couple weeks ago. And it's in the chapter of this book called Educators and Their Schools. And it says, quenching the thirst for knowledge. Boy, you got to get an education because that's going to be the only way out for you. Son, you get that education because what's in your head can't no man take away. Grandma Marcy Burton. Who was Grandma Marcy Burton?
That's your grandmother's mother. That's your maternal grandmother's mother.
Yes. Now.
Maternal grandmother's mother. That's your dad. Yeah, let me get it. You shook me up with that. I'm sorry. And when you said you were going to that chapter, I knew you were going to that quote. That kind of gave me a chill. You shook me up with that, Dr. Marcy. For you to be
well, that was my great grandmother.
Yes.
Who said that. And that is powerful. Nobody can take what's in your head. And I tell my students all the time, they might can beat your body or say some things, but whatever you get up here cannot be taken away. The only way it's gone is that you leave the earth. And so with that being said, what inspired you to write this book, A Story Untold? What were you thinking?
It's interesting. The original thought was a teacher. That central name, Miss Elizabeth King. You know.
Yes, yes.
Who just passed.
Just passed away recently.
Yeah, it was 102 or 103. I can't remember.
She was 102, I think.
Yeah, 102. One day, we were the first graduating class. That was before See the Show came into existence. And we had fought and argued and demonstrated for a Black history class. Black history class was the only class that didn't have a textbook. So we were upset about it. And you know how your students are with you, how they complain and complain. And Miss King was copying articles out of Ebony magazine. You know how you all do. So, and one day we were complaining. She said, I tell you what, Mike Thurmond, if you think you need a textbook in this class, then why don't you go write it?
Wow.
And you students that way. And see, Marcy, as a teacher, and I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to all your colleagues who teach, you don't ever know when the candle is lit. You don't know that moment where you change a person's life. We are here talking about a book that, but for that, Miss King challenging me, book may never have been written. Wow. But it was all of a teacher who really had the foresight and the intellect and the intuition to challenge us that if you want to make a difference, then you go make it. If you want to change, go be the change, right? Don't just sit there complaining. That's what she really said. You want the world to be a better place, and go make it a better place. That's what teachers do. And
that's what we do.
Isn't that what you do?
That's what we do. But you know, I when I was going through this book, because I read it some years ago, I said, but let me pick this up again and start looking through it. And there were so many people in just Athens, Georgia. This book is focused on Black men and women history in Athens, Georgia. And, you know, even when I look at First AME Church and walking through their doors, we recently went there, you had a book signing there. Was it maybe 2 years ago?
Yes.
And I remember going there with Mars Brown Choir, because that's the church we would go to sing once a year.
AME, yeah.
AME, yes. And so, but walking through those doors, I don't think a lot of people know the history of that church. And, you know, but growing up, you see these things, but when you start connecting points, that's the name of this platform, you start connecting the dots and you see, oh my goodness, I was standing in a structure that was the first. The first.
And I write about Hills Chapel, where you know what church where you were baptized. It's interesting when you see yourself.
Yeah.
And it's interesting you said that about Daddy being in that. I remember when they called and asked me, can we get your dad and interview him for this textbook? I remember when that happened.
Wow.
And for you to say that had an impact on you as a middle school student, that's why we have to teach Black history. Our children need to see themselves. You may not see a relative, but you see someone or something that reminds you or is in the image of you, and it's impactful. So one of the things I want to say with the whole thing around critical race theory, if they're going to take history out of the curriculum, then parents and churches and communities, we got to step in and make up the difference.
We do.
We
do. And that's what it has always been. You know, even at my church, since you're mentioning churches, I got it there too. I mean, we had Black history programs. I remember Miss Hardiman, Wilhelmina Hardiman.
Yep.
She would get us together. We'd be at the CME church. She'd gather us, the children up. She was an educator, but she would tell our parents, I need them to come to my church. They're going to learn this and that. And she would tell us how we were going to speak, how we were going to stand, how we were going to dress. And you had to recite poetry by Black poets. Anna Furr. I had my 5th grade teacher was Miss Anna Furr.
Oh, wow.
She walked past your dish, you better know that poem. They taught you who you were. They integrated. They didn't call it that then, but they were doing arts integration then, because you had to stand up in class and recite poems. And I think that's part of the place, one of the places I got love for writing poems first and then songs, because that's all they are, songs. But those type of teachers that I had were determined. We were not leaving their classroom not knowing certain things about who we were. And so, you know, I said recently to a colleague the other day, after having her class, and I questioned the children, I was asking them who started Black History Month in the first place. They couldn't tell me. It did seem like they desired to even know it. And I really got frustrated. So by the time I took them to their classroom, I said, listen, I'm disappointed. I said, because I can't let children leave my room and not know certain things. And she did tell me, well, we don't even have it in the curriculum anymore. That's an issue. Yes, we don't have, it's being taken out over the years. I've been in education 27 years. Over the years, I have seen certain components taken out, okay? However, it hasn't affected my teaching because it's certain things I'm still gonna teach. You know, and there's a way to do it. You know, there's a way. I had one kid say, well, Dr. Simmons, with the new laws that are coming out, because I've told them about that, will you get in trouble for teaching us? I said, well, you know what? I'm a risk taker.
I love it.
Have always been. And so you will not leave my room and not know who you are. And so I think, you know, we as a community, we've got to do it. We've got to do it because our children do not know. I'm telling you I'm in the trenches. They do not know. They think everything ever done was done by Dr. Martin Luther King because that's all they're teaching them. Dr. Martin Luther King was a great man, but there are so many others. They don't know about him because that's all they're teaching. They're teaching Dr. Martin Luther King. They're teaching Harriet Tubman. They're teaching Jackie Robinson. So that's it. You know, and I even got a rude awakening this week when I pulled up Duke Ellington and Ella Fitzgerald, thinking Duke Ellington was, I know it's still in the curriculum. They said, we don't know who that is, Dr. Simmons. So then I have to stop what I'm doing and I have to teach from a historical standpoint before I start teaching the music, because I refuse to let children sing or play something they don't even know where it's coming from. So, you know, that's where I am, Uncle Mike. That's my little soapbox, but.
You have in the call. That's all. Isn't that a blessing that you still answering the call?
Yeah, I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice. And I am so thankful, you know, you've been the interim superintendent of a school system before. So you know in education what was going on and what's been going on. But I am so thankful that I'm in a school system that has a superintendent that sees that. You know, she has been working to form. We have now a social justice department.
Oh, wow, that's great. I like her. She's good. I've talked to her.
Dr. Herring, yes. We have where have you heard of that?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. A social justice department. And that's
great. You know, she started.
Yes.
She's great.
So we just recently on the 21st of February, my birthday, had a day-long workshops on teaching Black children. How do you do it? And what's going on racially, you know? So that helps. It helps because a lot of us, we don't know how to.
Look, before we end though, we've been talking a lot about dad. I want to talk, your kids. Mahogany, the baby girl. Let's talk about it because I always go with Jamar, but I'm going to talk about the baby today. And so if you can, I don't know how you're going to edit this. If you do, I want the drawing that she did of Daddy's seeing. People should see that.
Okay, I will do that.
That's the most amazing thing. And she is, we've been talking about music. Her gift is the ability to draw and paint. And she is talented. And I'm not just saying that because she's my niece, but she has an amazing gift. And I'm just so impressed with her. And she's just going to do great things. And the reason I mentioned that, a gift is a blessing. You get a gift, whether it's music or whether it's politics, or like Jamari, whether it's producing in music, Mahogany is drawing. A gift is a blessing. And the saying is that you need to make your blessing, you need to count your blessings, right? You have to count them. And some days, with all this stuff going on with pandemic and everything, we still need to count our blessings.
That's right.
And after you count them, but that's the first part of it. And this is what I want to leave you with. Every day, count your blessings. And every day, make your blessings count.
Ooh, yep. And that's powerful. Did y'all hear that? Every day, count your blessings. And every day, make your blessings count. Yes.
Because that's the pair of talent. If you got a talent and you don't use it and multiply it, if you have a blessing and if you don't use it and leverage it and multiply it, then that is sinful. You're not making.
It is. And speaking of Mahogany, she's gone right now. That somebody wanted to honor her for the work she did on a Black History mural at Drew Charter High School in Atlanta. She didn't even go to that school, but she went and did put some of her work on the ground. So, you have to encourage children to do whatever it is they do. You have to encourage them.
I commissioned that was so cool. But I just know one day I would have been one of the first. And I'm going to see her on display at the Metropolitan Museum of Arts, the Atlanta Museum. And I'll be able, as an old man, to say, yep, I saw it. I saw it.
You saw it.
I saw it. And that's the blessing. And
I want to tell you, I thank you for the impact that you've made on my life. Oftentimes as family members, we just sit around and we're great people. And you don't tell each other because that's what you're used to. But it is a blessing to have.
And that's it. You don't go in all that other stuff.
But I just want to thank you because you made an impact. You made an impact. Your tenacity to stick with whatever you were doing. I know I got that.
Yes.
I got that honest.
Oh, you got an extra dose.
Yeah, I got a double dose of that. So, no stopping, ain't no stopping Marcy. Now I'm telling you.
We talk about you now. We talk about you. And I can't do that but laugh. I see me, but I see it, concentrated. But that's why you're successful. That's why I refer to you as Dr. Simmons. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to take that next step. You didn't have to get the master's. You didn't have to get the doctorate. You didn't have to have the connecting point. You didn't have to start the music school. You didn't have to do any of this. But that's just the spirit. That's God propelling you forward. And listen, the greatest things have yet to come.
Amen. And I believe that. I accept it and I believe it. Uncle Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to have a discussion with me today that is much needed. It is much needed, and I'm sure it's going to inspire some young person, some middle-aged person, some older person, educators, all types of people. It will inspire. Now, before we get off, I always do this. If someone wanted to contact you for speaking engagements or anything, how would they do that?
It will be through my office at, let me get something. I don't never know the numbers or anything.
I know. That's the benefit of having some help.
Yeah, this is embarrassing, right? Because I don't really know the numbers, but it's at the DeKalb County government. I'm trying to find a card, Marcy.
Well, listen, that's all right. Y'all, he is the
I'm easy to find.
yeah, he's easy to find. Just Google Michael Thurmond, CEO of DeKalb County, and you can find him. That's how you do it. And like I say every week, if you would like to be a part of this discussion and you want to inspire someone, share your story, and it's something that can transform the world for the better, you may contact me. You can Google Dr. Marcy's connections. You can go to Dr. Marcy's at ts@gmail.com and shoot me a message and I'll get back with you. And you can also join the Connecting Point for Creators group on Facebook. It's just a group of creators that promote each other, and we try to put something on there to inspire you from day to day. But if you think you want to be a part of a group that support each other and promote each other and inspire, look us up on Facebook, send us a request to join. We'd love to have you because iron sharpens iron. And this show airs on YouTube on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. It also airs on Instagram TV and KBNC TV on Wednesday nights at 7 p.m. So you have 3 different ways you can get it. All I ask that you do is click it, like it, and share it. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Again, Uncle Mike, thank you so much for joining me in this discussion. I love you much, and ain't nothing you can do about it.
I sound just like your mama. All right. I love you, Marcy. Dr. Simmons.
Until I get this moment again, audience, peace and blessings. Bye-bye.